Welcome to Fence Post Politics, the only source for unfiltered, nonsensical, fake-ish news that you never asked for. With your hosts, Matt McKinley and Aaron Ellis. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Wednesday. Apologize for the audio on the previous episode. If you listened, I apologize. I was having some sort of weird issue with my audio equipment. I think I've got it fixed, actually. And if I don't got it fixed, I've got it recording backup. So I'm super professional now. Something along those lines. Anyhow, I hope your week's going good. We got some snow. It's been cold as shit last couple days. It was really nice last week, and then turned cold over the weekend, and we got a pretty good snow today, and it was just kind of all around miserable, but hey, what are you going to do? It is winter, and it snows in the wintertime, as you may find out later on in life. Despite what a lot of the media outlets will tell you, it does snow in the winter, and that is a common occurrence, at least in the northern hemisphere. So anyhow, it's been a really kind of crazy week, and a lot of shit has happened. It's much like I was speaking on the yellow journalism stuff. Boy, that Ukraine deal is a fast moving thing, but so is the Canada deal. And look something up real quick, and we'll start the show off with that. And because I know that all right, so here we go. We'll pop this up on the screen. And we got MPs and senators on Emergencies Act Committee will take secrecy oath. Oh, okay. All right, so Justin Trudeau has invoked the Emergencies Act, which basically suspends all civil liberties for Canadians. Members of Parliament of a parliamentary committee set up to scrutinize the Emergencies Act will have to take an oath of secrecy, but will not be given access to highly classified material, says the government's representative in the Senate. Senator Mark Gold also said told senators that ministers are receiving an hourly police updates about potential threats around the country to assess if the emergency law is still needed. The Senate began debating Tuesday whether to confirm the government's decision to invoke the Emergencies Act for the first time in Canadian history over protests and blockades. All right, so on Monday, a majority of the House of Commons voted in favor of confirming the act after the NDP backed the minority Liberal government. So the Liberal Party is the ruling party over there, but they don't have a majority in government. And the NDP is like an even further socialist wing, I believe, of our party, and they're allied with the Liberals for the majority, blah, blah, blah. So it says the act must also pass through the Senate, which plans to hold extra long sittings to debate it. If it fails to approve the act, it would be immediately revoked. If approved, however, a special joint committee of both the House of Commons and the Senate would be established to review the government's actions under the act on an ongoing basis. Gold said those on the committee would have to take an oath of secrecy, but would not receive highly classified intelligence briefings. Senator Dennis Glenn Patterson of the Canadian Senators Group asked whether the committee members could be given higher security clearance or even sworn into the Privy Council. The Privy, you Canadians. To allow them to have access to sensitive and security intelligence to inform their decisions. Gold said the rules would not allow members of parliament to dip in and out of higher security clearances or be temporarily sworn in. Okay, so what they're saying there is we got all this information that supports us invoking this Securities Act, but it's super highly classified and you can't see it, so you're just gonna have to trust us on this one. And by trust us, that means we need to restrict all the rights that Canadians have, and we can't show you this stuff that tells you why that we need to do that. So, good job, Canada. That's you voted those people in too. So that's and it's there's a lot of blame to go around, but I'm gonna place some blame on our leaders here in the U.S. who should be denouncing this very strongly. And I mean, if we should be threatening sanctions on anybody, it should be Canada for civil rights abuse against their own people. I also saw that one of the organizers of this convoy, Tamara Licht, who is she's like the head of the Maverick Party, but she was arrested and denied bail. And what's really funny is they're treating this thing as a major like domestic terrorism event there in Canada, and the organizers that they are like the leaders of this protest in Ottawa of the convoy, they are being charged with counseling to commit mischief and other things of that nature, but mischief. They invoked a War Powers Act that strips you of your civil liberties and allows the government to seize your bank accounts, not freeze the funds, but seize your bank accounts, seize any of your assets, permanently revoke your driver's license. So if you're a trucker, that's the way you make your living. They can take that away from you for good. And I think the fines that they were proposing were like $100,000. And but basically able to ruin your life. And like the Ottawa police chief has talked about how this will be going on, this investigation will be going on for months to come under this Emergencies Act. And the House of Commons there in Parliament just voted to ratify it. Now the Senate, hopefully for all you Canadians' sake, the Senate decides to vote it down. But talking to, and I'm just gonna, for security reasons, not that they don't already know who I talk to, but just for any of those reasons, because things are getting real squirrely up there, and we know how social media will gladly give up information on people. So I won't mention any names, but people I've talked to up there are not very confident that the Senate won't just go along with it too. And that's a scary, scary deal. And that kind of leads into the next story, because so I guess before we get into this next story, be careful, everybody up there in Canada that's listening. Don't do anything stupid, and like be safe up there. That's it's starting to get real squirrely up there. So but we got a suspected convoy starting here in the U.S. I looked at an Instagram an Instagram account that I followed just the other day. It's like it was a Freedom Convoy .usa, I think was the Instagram handle, and it showed people a bunch of trucks in a convoy in California. So maybe it is happening. And same advice goes to anybody who's joining in a trucker convoy that may or may not be going to Canada, or not to Canada, but to DC, that's modeled after the Canada version. Don't do anything stupid. Stay within the law and keep it nonviolent, because they got you once. They tricked you last year on January 6th. They looks like, I don't know what all happened. I don't think we'll all know, but we'll get into a little bit more of that stuff later. But either way, somehow a whole bunch of idiots ended up in the Capitol building, and now the powers that be are on high alert and willing to call just about anybody a domestic terrorist. And Canada has just declared war on their own people, in particular financial warfare. So don't do anything stupid and remain nonviolent, because there'll be some shit thrown your way, almost guaranteed. So Washington, D.C. issued alert on Tuesday as officials brace for an expected caravan of trucks arriving in the nation's capital to emulate the anti-mandate trucker protests in Canada. This is from New York Post. Mayor Muriel Bowser is being briefed by public safety officials as we continue to monitor the situation closely, and our agencies remain in regular contact with their local, regional, and federal partners, according to a screenshot posted by Fox DC reporter Lindsay Watts. Layered mitigation measures are being put in place, including some that will be visible to the public and others that are not. We appreciate the approval of our DC National Guard traffic support request as we put together resources to support public safety personnel. So they're already calling in the National Guard. And so several different convoys of trucks are expected from across the country to be headed to the city, but it isn't clear how large the turnout will be or when the protesters will arrive. Some trucks may arrive as soon as Wednesday, while others may arrive to coincide with President Joe Biden's State of the Union speech next week. So, okay. I remember mentioning that, or speculating as to when the State of the Union was. And, all right, so it looks like it's next week. And, well, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. It also isn't clear if the truckers will gather within the actual city of D.C. Organizer Bob Bolas told Fox 5 D.C. plans to leave Scranton, PA. Hey, that's Joe Biden's hometown. Come on, Corn Pop. Wednesday to drive through D.C. and then to the Capitol Beltway with the goal of shutting down the highway which wraps around the city. I'll give you an analogy of that of a giant boa constrictor, Bolas told the network. That basically squeezes you, chokes you, and it swallows you. That's what we're going to do to the DC. You might want to find a better organizer to talk to the media, other than old Bob. See, anything that can be construed as violent will be used against you. So I bet you that quote will be that might come back to bite you. So maybe not off to a great start there. Because if I'm picking that little point out, you can imagine how many left-wing media types with bigger audiences than mine will pick that apart. So anyway, Bolas said his group would allow a lane to open for emergency vehicles, but said if disrupted people getting to and from work, that's too bad. Dun, 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 dun. Nearly 500 cops in the D.C. police are to be put on civil disturbance units beginning Wednesday, the station reported. All right, so I don't know. I've heard a lot of rumors about all of this this convoy business, and I don't know of anything really that's going on. Like I said, this Bob Bolus guy, they probably ought to not let him talk to reporters anymore. The boa constrictor, especially when you're talking about choking it out and swallowing it. That so it basically squeezes you, chokes you, and it swallows you, and that's what we're going to do the DC. So yeah, that not great. While I get the analogy, it's a pretty basic analogy. I can also see it being taken completely out of context and spun as a threat of violence. So you have to think about those things when you're trying to make a nationwide or worldwide statement. And let's face it, we're the United States of America. Partly because we insist on being the center of attention. We're like the older child that that's not getting all the attention now that the newer kids in the picture, and so you just gotta they throw themselves in on everything just to clamor onto that last little bit of attention that they so rightly think they deserve. That's kind of how the U.S. is on the world stage. Just look at me. So, like, there's no doubt that this is going to make a big news story if it actually materializes. And you can see what they did to these people in Canada and how they try to paint them as racist. But you can also see how by staying nonviolent, you can counteract that. But Now we're talking the United States of America. It didn't really get ugly up in Canada until the U.S. got involved and Biden had a little chat with Trudeau and said, "Hey, you need to knock this shit off, or you need to get this thing taken care of." And next thing you know, wartime measures are being deployed. So, and then we had the January 6th kerfuffle last year, and so you got the swamp on high alert, and that doesn't bode well for it just does not bode well for any protests in the DC area. So keep your head on a fucking swivel. Is all I got to say there. So we'll see if that materializes. I'm looking for well, sorry folks to interrupt, but got a few sponsors that help me keep this this whole thing going week, month to month, and now up on 3 years, so year by year. And I sure appreciate them, so I better tell you about them so that paying me to do so. First up, it's a new sponsor to the show, but you're probably familiar with them. It's HI/Cattle, High/Cattle Company. Jen and Logan Hill, owners and operators of operations. Profit margins in the cattle industry are tighter than ever, and you can't afford to leave premiums sitting on the grid. Using Black Hereford bulls on your continental cattle will help keep calves efficient and in the black. HI/Cattle Company, located in the heart of the Nebraska Sandhills, is committed to helping real cattlemen improve their herds. They don't chase the fads and don't fall for the show ring gimmicks. HI/Cattle, High/Cattle, what I'm going to call it. High/Cattle, they raise bulls with grit, know how to work. Still a few bulls available for this year, and they offer free delivery. So you can check them out. Videos and photos of all the bulls are up on Facebook and on their website, hi/cattle.com. That's HISLASH cattle.com. throwbacks.com, or you can give them a holler on the phone, 970-629-8807. Great folks there, Western Colorado, now relocated to the Sandhills. Known them since college, so check them out. Great cattle, great people, and won't be disappointed. Next up, we've got Cardomax.com. Cardomax.com, a veteran-owned, operated, all around. Just they're what do they call themselves? A supplement company, I suppose. And they're just they're really good people. That's owned and operated by former Navy SEAL Sean Madsen. I use just about all their stuff. It's really good. It's a package you put into a bottle of water. Energy intensifiers got like 300 milligrams of caffeine. If you're into that deal, I use the immune booster and the hydration stuff every day. Hydration, Gatorade, immunity boosters got stuff to help boost your immunity. Pretty explanatory, but it's sugar, no bullshit. It's all natural and really good stuff. Really good. Check them out. Cardomax.com. Use the promo code Move Your Ass. You'll get 10% order. It's a hell of a good deal and good way to support a veteran-owned company. It's really, honestly good. Right here, I really drink this. Just a little bitty stick of liquid, bottle of water. Check it out. Cardomax.com. Promo code Move Your Ass. Get 10% off. And next up, we got Greene's Reserve. Is all natural, 100% hemp chew, hemp snuff. Got several different flavors: wintergreen, menthol, natural, and the mango in there. Yeah, we're mango, strawberry, kiwi. Oh shit, they're getting all sorts. The 100% all natural, no tobacco, no nicotine, and no THC. You won't piss hot on a drug test. It's a good tobacco alternative if you're into to that type of stuff, and if you're not, but it's it's pretty. I think it's pretty good stuff. I haven't quit chewing tobacco, but I like how this stuff focus and concentrate, kind of relaxing. But it's just a good tobacco alternative. So anyway, greensreserve.com/shop. Use the promo code MattGR. Get $1 off a can or $5 off a roll. Green, but it's not the cheapest stuff, but not the worst. About $8 a can, so you'll be saving $1, $7 a can with my promo code, and get $5 off a roll of 5. So anyway, it's a good deal. Check them out. Greensreserve.com. That's GRENES reserve.com. Promo code @GR. You'll get 10% or no, $1 off a can, $5. Cardomax.com. 10% off order. And with Jen and Logan on High/Cattle, I'm really happy to have them on board. Jen writes really good blog post every Monday on website burning-daylight.com on the Uncommon Sense blog site, so go check it out. Does really good work. Really good cattle there. So and if you don't like hearing ads, you can get rid of those. You can go over and subscribe on patreon.com/burning daylight. anywhere from $1 and on up. There's different incentives, different perks that you get for each level tier, I guess, price level. But anyway, it all goes back into the show. Try to do some of this stuff to help give back to you guys, but also you get bonus content and get ad-free shows, and you get a little bit early. Anyway, patreon.com/burning daylight. And if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, just shoot me a message or an email, matt@burning-daylight.com, or you can find me on Old. Shoot me a message and go from there. But anyway, please support the show because all this shit takes money. Yeah, don't grow on trees. So anyways, thanks everybody for supporting, and let's get back into the show. Well, son of a bitch. I don't know where that tab went to. Oh well. Let's skip over to. I was gonna carry on with the January 6th stuff, but I don't know where I left that article. Well, I'll keep going here, see if I can't find it. Anyway, basically, it was the Supreme Court ruled that Trump can't invoke executive privilege on the January 6th records that the Jan 6th, the J6 Commission is requesting, and I think that's gonna be something. Well, it's gonna be one of those things that is going to come back to bite the Democrats in the ass. Just like the nuclear option in the Senate when they they invoked the nuclear option when Obama was president to get a bunch of judges confirmed. That came back to bite him because the precedent was set, and so then the Republicans used it for Supreme Court nominees, and it's just now typically when a president invokes executive privilege, particularly if they're out of office, the next president, or the president that's in office, typically allows that to go through. Joe Biden did not, and it went to court. The D.C. Court of Appeals ruled that he couldn't invoke executive privilege, and then Trump appealed it to the Supreme Court, and they rejected it. So the lower court ruling stands, and I can't find that damn article. But either way, I think that might be a pretty significant, I guess, non-ruling, really. Later on, and honestly, I'm all in favor. The government hides way too much shit as it is, and I want to know what everybody said. I want to know if Nancy Pelosi was trading stocks while these people were descending upon the Capitol, if she was making moves in the market. I want to know if Crenshaw was yelling at another 10-year-old girl at the protest, because this is where I had a really good story that I'll have to end with, but yeah, is what was Crenshaw Like, what was he? Was he trading stocks with old Nance and yelling at a 10-year-old girl? And making sure that nobody ever questions his faith, because I want to know what happened on January 6th. I want to know all the juicy gossip, including from the old Trumpy bear himself. And so I'm interested to see, and I'm also interested to see what was in the classified documents that went to Mar-a-Lago. I don't know. This whole thing is a very fascinating thing to watch, the end of an empire in real time. So, but speaking of old Trumpy bear, we'll pop this on the screen. Truth Social it's launched, kinda, for some people. It hasn't been a good rollout as far as I can tell. I don't know. I signed up and says your account has been created successfully. Thank you for joining. Due to massive demand, we have placed you on our wait list. We love you, and you're not just another number, but your wait list number is below, and it's I'm number 217,167. It's been stuck on that for about 24 hours now, and there's like a little refresh button, but it doesn't refresh. And so I don't know. I don't plan on using it much, but I would like to see Trump back in his natural habitat, which is Twitter ideally, but since that's not happening, must be popular, or it's just very shittily done, or both. That's always a possibility, and I don't know, but it will be good to see Trump just lobbing bombs from the sideline again. I'm really worried he's going to be president again, and I'm not so much worried about Trump being well, I am kinda, because he might be on just like a hate tour. Anyway, far right figure is already accusing Trump's Truth Social of censoring him. A user who called for the execution of government officials is mad his post contains a disclaimer. Far right figure is already claiming to experience censorship on Truth Social. They put censorship in quotes, and I think that's actually a pretty good use of the quotes there. The social media platform launched on Monday by former President Donald Trump. Stu Peters, a prominent conspiracy theorist and radio host, lashed out at the new app in a statement on Telegram after he said a post he made was covered by a sensitive content notice. So I don't know who Stu Peters is. So what did he say? Peters revealed that a post where he called for the execution of government officials had been obscured by the notice, yet simply clicking show content on the notice would allow any user to see Peters' remarks. He's everybody loves to be a victim. That is, man, everybody loves it. Even the people that hate to, or that claim to hate the victim mentality use, look at me, I'm a victim. You can just click the deal. Is it annoying? Yeah, kinda. But whatever. So it's I'm already being censored. Post in question specifically stated that any government employee that allowed kids to be killed with these dangerous COVID shots should be put on trial and executed. Free speech isn't free, Peters added. Let me see if I can find the actual. Okay, it says, I'm already being censored on Truth Social. Want to know what I said? I said, the people in our government responsible for allowing our kids to be killed with these dangerous COVID shots should be put on trial and executed. Free speech isn't free. Okay. So they're gonna do the same thing as Twitter, except not kick Trump off. That seems to be what the main distinction is here. So I don't really care. All these alternative platforms, you go there and it's just it's just a Trump love fest. And then of course your traditional media will go directly to all the Nazi accounts and highlight those and like, this is all these new alternative platforms are, which is kind of true. There's always the Nazis and the the Klansmen somewhere. Not many of them, but they're out there. And they need to have a place to do their thing too, I guess. But really what you get on Parler or Rumble or I'm guessing Truth Social, Getter, is just, it's all like right-wing, like Trump supporters. And that's all you see is just like conservative posts, which is fine. But Twitter just really fucked up when they started getting really into the censorship deal, and when the freaking journalist class of people all just like started living on Twitter. That's when Twitter went downhill. I still use it, and I think it's I wish we could be done with this censorship bullshit. I called this episode Nostalgia. What exactly did I call that? Nostalgia something or other. Nostalgia Wars. Because, and I chose Nostalgia Wars. I'll get into that here in a minute. But there's a reason for the Nostalgia Wars and just the feeling of nostalgia in general. So this pandemic deal just really fucked a lot of shit up, and Trump threw a wrench into everything, just being Trump. And a lot of people are just wanting to get back to some kind of normal way of life, and I think that's the vast majority of people. And like there was that moment with my generation at the Super Bowl halftime show when we're just like, oh hey, yeah, these songs rock. Grew up on this, and then we're like, oh yeah, we're the majority market share now. That's why the stuff like the Super Bowl halftime show is catered right towards us, because that's who they can sell products to. And then you see all these remakes, like they're redoing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Will Smith is doing it, but now it's like a dramatic take on it. And yeah, they have like the Wonder Years, but with a black cast, which is strange. Wonder Years is like the widest show of all time. But, you know, we got to have the blacks have that nostalgia too, even though they had their own shows. Not that they couldn't have watched the Wonder Years, but like they had shows that were black families, like the Wonder Years. You know, like it's weird. Why? It's not only the remakes, but it's like, we're gonna do this, but with women, but with all black people, or it's gonna be this, but with gay people. And it's hard. Why don't we just make something new? Create shit. You know, it's like that meme. You know, you're poking. Just do something. Do something. But we don't. So we gotta keep calling back to the good old days and the good old days. So Wall Street Journal. There's a bunch of articles I used today from Wall Street Journal. Why this economic boom can't lift America's spirits. This is by Josh Mitchell. Americans are normally happiest when the economy is growing rapidly. The unusual nature of today's recovery has upended that pattern. Last year was the best year for job growth on record. Workers are commanding solid wage gains. Booming home and stock market values have lifted household wealth to records. It was the best year of job growth on record because a majority of states locked down their economy and then they started to open it back up. So it's like you didn't really create job growth. You're just like finally turning the economy back on. But the record job growth followed record job losses in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns. Inflation is at 7.5%. Inflation at 7.5% is eating up those wage gains for many Americans, and the unsettling effects of the pandemic, such as product shortages, are still playing out. No shit. That explains why consumers say they feel bad as bad as they did in the financial crisis year of 2009, a recent Gallup poll showed. First time Americans who say they are not too happy outnumbered those who say they're very happy, according to a survey from a nonprofit group, NORC, at the University of Chicago. Unlike the country's last big inflation in the 1970s and early 1980s, when price pressure built over a decade, this time a cost of living run-up unfolded in months. It caught many off guard, from President Biden and the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell to the ordinary grocery shopper. It shouldn't have caught anybody by surprise. I remember when they were debating these stimulus packages back in March, April of 2020, and you can't just make new money without backing it with something and expect that value of the dollar to stay the same. And remember, a lot of this not only championed by, but happened under the Trump administration, just now catching up to us. And you can go back way farther than that, all the way to the start of the central bank, the Federal Reserve, in 1917, whenever that was under Woodrow Wilson. Anyhow, but when you have something like 40% of all the U.S. dollars in circulation that were created in the last basically 2 years, that's going to lead to some inflation. They're calling this a recovery, but it's not even really a recovery. It's just like a violent. It's like a cold start on a diesel. Like when you finally to get it to just crank over and fire, and it's like pop 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 pop. Except it's not. Now it's not getting enough air or something, just something's not quite right. So, it's going, but barely. And it's trying to pick up some momentum, but it's not warmed up yet. It's it's a cold start on a 7.3 power stroke in North Dakota. It's even if you do get it started, it's gonna take it some chugging along to get going. Let's see. The latest phase of the pandemic has further eroded faith in leaders and institutions, leading to feelings of frustration, aimlessness, and helplessness. Polling shows even among some who are doing well in today's economy. I'm lucky because I have zero debt. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a car payment. I don't owe a penny to the world right now, said Paul Remick, who is a year into retirement in Kensington, New York. Despite that stability, he is among many who are anxious about the economy's future. You listen to these Fed guys, Powell, right now. We think we'll get the inflation under control this year. Fine, but do you really think these food companies are going to lower prices on the supply once the supply chain gets settled? Mr. Remick asked. Do you think eggs are going to go down? These prices are here to stay. I don't know who this Mr. Remick is, but he's absolutely right about that. But probably for different reasons. The inflation has already happened. Your buying power has been curtailed, and they're going to have to raise interest rates, and that's going to hurt. Doesn't really matter how it happens. This economy is going to take a shit, and it's going to hurt one way or the other. Be ready for that. Like that's talked about it many times. That's one place the Mormons really got it right, was planning ahead and having a year's worth of food and shit like that. Because when the economy tanks, weird shit happens. I mean, just look at the Dust Bowl. I know it was it was kind of a once in a lifetime drought occurrence as well, mixed with incredibly shitty farming practices, compounded by the collapse of the stock market and economic depression. But I mean that led to some weird shit. Led to some really, really great novels and some some characters that maybe the world would have never known about had that all not happened. Say characters like Woody Guthrie maybe wouldn't have rose to prominence or popularity. Had all those sequence of events not happen kind of simultaneously. I don't know. It's they keep trying to reassure us that the economy is really, it's fine, people. It'll be fine. It's gonna come crashing down, and it's not gonna be fun. But when that happens, I don't know what it actually looks like. But yeah, I don't know on that either. But this one's next story should really reassure you. CDC is withholding COVID data over fears of misinterpretation. It's from New York Post. CDC has admitted it is withholding large portions of COVID-19 data, including on vaccine boosters, from the public because it fears the information could be misinterpreted. The leading public health agency has only published a small sample of the data it's been collecting, despite being 2 years into the pandemic, sources told the New York Times. Kristen Nordland, a CDC spokeswoman, said the reason for the slow release of data is basically because basically at the end of the day, it's not yet ready for prime time. She added CDC's priority when gathering any data is to ensure that it's accurate and actionable. But another reason that the data could be misinterpreted by the public, Nordland admitted. So because it could be misconstrued and misinterpreted, we're just not going to show you it, or at least not the parts that we don't want you to see. Among the data that has been collected but not made public is hospitalizations broken down by age, race, and vaccination status over the last year, and information on the effectiveness of booster shots. I wonder why that wasn't made public. When the CDC released data on the effectiveness of boosters for adults younger than 65 2 weeks ago, it did not include the full numbers on those between 18 and 49, which is probably the biggest chunk there if we're going younger than 65. So the range being 18 to 65 for adults. And the bulk of those were not released. So 18 to 49, huh? The data show that the booster shots were least likely to benefit younger adults because the 2 shots of Moderna or Pfizer vaccines or 1 dose of... CDC has also just started releasing data on whether COVID is present in wastewater, even though some states have been providing figures. Wastewater data. According to one CDC official, Dr. Daniel Jemigan, the COVID pandemic has revealed how outdated the agency and other state-level health systems have become. I'd say that's probably an accurate statement. I wonder why they're not releasing data on a controversial vaccine. I wonder why. Nothing to see here, folks. All right. Well, now let's get back to some more nostalgia. And on that front, the Cold War is back, baby. It is back. I gotta eat a little bit of crow. I thought that maybe the Western media, and I still think to a huge extent, they are hyping up the chaos over in Ukraine. But anyhow, just to reiterate a little bit, this thing has been going on for a while. So in 2014, I believe, CIA State Department helped overthrow the president of Ukraine, who was he was pretty buddy with Putin. He was from the eastern part of Ukraine, which is what is really being disputed right now. We'll get into that here in a little bit. So there's these two areas that kind of basically tried to secede after this new president, Zelensky, was elected. And they've been fighting in that eastern area of Ukraine since about 2015. According to what I've read, something like 14,000 people have died in that civil war / border dispute between eastern Ukraine and Russia. Those areas have a pretty, I don't know what the percentage, but a higher percentage than Western Ukraine of Russian speaking and culturally Russian people that live there. So it's not as cut and dry as Russia invading Ukraine. But anyhow, Vladimir Putin took the step, and it was voted on by their parliament or whatever, their governmental body, voted unanimously to back it. So what Putin did was he recognized those two breakaway areas of Ukraine as independent states, and as independent states, they could request for his backup, which they did, or as he claims, and so he authorized troops to go in as peacekeeping forces. Big time air quotes there, peacekeeping forces. And so we'll see what happens from here. But essentially, after jumping through several hoops, Russia has invaded Ukraine, or from their angle, Russia has stepped in to help other Russians. And so this is from the Wall Street Journal. Putin's address takes swipe at U.S.-led world order. So Vladimir Putin made a big speech today. Russian President Vladimir Putin's combative address on Monday from the Kremlin was a nearly hour-long recitation of decades' worth of historical grievances and unmistakable challenge by Moscow to the post-Cold War international order dominated by the West. The speech, ostensibly aimed at recognizing the independence of two breakaway statelets that Russia carved from Ukraine in 2014, outlined Mr. Putin's view that Ukraine was a historical accident that the U.S. has turned into a launchpad to attack Russia. The United States and NATO have begun the shameless development of the territory of Ukraine as a theater of military operations, Mr. Putin said, seated at a desk flanked by Mr. Putin's speech echoed defiant remarks that he delivered in Munich in 2007 that helped set the trajectory of his combative relationships with Washington. Then he sharply criticized what he called a U.S. monopoly on foreign relations and American use of force in places such as Iraq. While on Monday he left his precise intentions towards Ukraine unclear, he expounded the Russian view that Ukraine's borders were drawn arbitrarily by the Soviet Union's founder, Vladimir Lenin, and only exist now because of the USSR's hurried breakup in 1991. Mr. Putin said those borders ignored deep civilizational ties between Russia and Ukraine and questioned the legitimacy of an independent Ukrainian state, saying, Ukraine for us is not just a neighboring country. It is an integral part of our own history, cultural, and spiritual space. Mr. Putin addressed his speech not only to Russia, but to our compatriots in Ukraine. Ukraine declared independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. Senior Biden administration officials said Mr. Putin's speech was intended to attack Ukrainian sovereignty and independence. He made a number of false claims about Ukraine's intention that seemed designed to excuse possible military action. The official said this was a speech to the Russian people to justify a war. Mr. Putin has long railed against what he calls U.S.-led efforts to turn Ukraine into a Western-facing democracy, claiming Russia's ties with Ukraine gave it a unique right to intervene there. Now he has bracketed Ukraine on three sides with more than 150,000 troops. Anyhow, I don't know where this goes, honestly. I know that we had deployed troops to NATO countries. Here's what happens. If we send troops in, regardless, we're going to send weapons in. We're sending weapons in. This is starting to and I'll eat a little bit of crow here because and this is mostly from me and Aaron talking back and forth in text message, but you know he's a pretty pro-war guy. He's pretty hawkish, and he was talking about how Putin is probably gonna, he's a crafty old fucker. And I gotta say, I've never been a Putin apologist, but I also thought this is something we shouldn't stick our nose into. And I've thought about it from many different angles, and I just don't see how this ends up well. So if we say Putin goes ahead and he starts to push a little bit further west and tries to take Kiev and the rest of Ukraine, and we go ahead and send our boys over there to stop him, well, then you're in a hot war with Russia. And as I've talked about many times before, they've got just as many nukes as we do. Maybe more. Probably more. I don't know. Either way, more than enough to make everything suck. Or we send special forces guys in and help the Ukrainians fight back. Either way, we're embroiled in an insurgency in a foreign country, essentially fighting Russia, but not really fighting Russia, and we're just prolonging this new phase of the Cold War. Except now we're right on Russia's doorstep, and as we can see, Vladdy doesn't really fuck around, and I think he knows that Biden's not going to do anything. I don't think we can do much. NATO, the Ukraine is not a part of NATO, so we have no obligation to have their back militarily, or no legal obligation, anyways. And we just can't really afford it. We got 7.5% inflation. It's probably going to be 10% pretty soon. We got a possible trucker convoy getting ready to descend on DC. the morale on the home front is not great. And I don't see there's any way we can truly get involved. Even from a moral standpoint, if we do go over there and say we toe off, we square off toe to toe with Russia. Got a few things working against us. It's February, almost March. Ukraine is basically Russia. I know they're two different states, but like geographically, there's Russia over here and Ukraine right up against it. There's the old saying throughout history classes, you don't start a land war in Southeast Asia and you don't invade Russia in the winter. Well, last time I checked, Ukraine's basically Russia, shares a border with them, and it's February. So still winter, still basically Russia. At the very, very least, probably better hold off till spring if there's going to be any fighting done over there. I mean, that just history would go to show you that. Also, history would show you that people with looking to expand territory get a little greedy. This little time period right now is being heavily compared to the pre-World War II Europe with Hitler and the Sudetenland, Czechoslovakia. That was he said he just wanted the Sudetenland to be returned to Germany because it's rightfully a part of Germany. And that was all he wanted. And then, of course, that turned out to be the lie detector test determined that was a lie. And this is a lot of the same thing being said about Vladimir Putin right now. And I'll admit that could be a very, very real possibility that Putin wants to go ahead and expand further westward and just see how far he can go. How old is Vladimir Putin? He's got to be in his 70s too. We've got a bunch of old fucks still wanting to fight. How old is Vladimir Putin? 69. Nice. 69 years old. So almost 70. He'll be 70 on October 7th. All right, so he's a little younger than I thought. But still pretty old. And but he's also like probably a trillionaire or some shit. So he'll probably live forever. Look at Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney's still alive. So this is also another neat little development. This is Breitbart reporting here, but Ukraine, Zelensky seeks to end Russia diplomatic ties after hinting at pursuing nuclear weapons. Breitbart's not the most well-regarded source of news, but they do some good work at times, and doesn't hurt to read different news sources. So, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, I think it's basically Vladimir Zelensky, announced on Tuesday that he was reviewing a request from his diplomats to cut all ties to Russia in response to Putin's recognizing Russian proxies in the country as sovereign states and ordering peacekeeping troops into Ukraine. Trying to find. So this does it. Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014, colonizing southern Crimea region and investing heavily. Evidence suggests in pro-Russian separatists in the Donbass region. Russia openly considers Crimea part of its sovereign territory, but has previously denied being involved in Donbass. On Monday, Putin announced he would recognize the two regions that comprise Donbass, Donetsk and Luhansk, as sovereign states and honor a request from their governments for Russian military support against Ukraine. In an extensive meandering speech, Putin repeatedly declared that Ukraine had no right to exist, was a Russian fabrication, and owed its existence entirely to Vladimir Lenin. Zelensky, who had expressed extreme exasperation with warnings from the White House for the past month of an imminent invasion on the entirety of Ukraine, had hinted in remarks this weekend that he believed Kiev should consider building a nuclear weapons program. The country had abandoned all nuclear ambitions in 1994, signing the Budapest Memorandum that issued security guarantees from the West, meaning Western countries would fill in the defense gap left by Ukraine destroying its nuclear weapons in exchange for Kiev agreeing not to pursue nuclear weapons development. This is a quote. He says, "We see an attack on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our state. I received a request from the Foreign Ministry to consider the issue of severing diplomatic relations between Ukraine and Russia," Zelensky said on Tuesday. "Immediately after the press conference, I will work on this and other issues." Zelensky nonetheless offered the Russian government an avenue for dialogue rather than escalating the ongoing proxy war into an open war between Russia and Ukraine. "We understand all the risks. We are again calling on Russia to resolve these issues through dialogue and to sit down at the negotiating table." The president said, "We are ready to meet any time. In recent months, we have held consultations with almost all the leaders of EU, US, UK, Germany, France, etc., and offered any format of dialogue where the Russian Federation would be present. We received the answer, and that answer came yesterday. Ukraine must respond to this by defending sovereignty and our state," Zelensky concluded, according to the Ukrainian government. Ukraine's apparent exit from diplomacy with Russia in the event that Putin does not respond positively to Zelensky's call for dialogue follows a threat from the Ukrainian president this weekend to withdraw from the Budapest framework that keeps Ukraine from obtaining nuclear weapons. Ukraine received security guarantees for abandoning the world's third nuclear capability. "We do not have those weapons, nor do we have security," Zelensky said in remarks to the Munich Security Conference. Since 2014, Ukraine has made 3 attempts to convene consultations with the guarantor states of the Budapest Memorandum. 3 attempts failed. Today, the Ukraine will make the 4th attempt. "I will make my first attempt as the president," Zelensky announced, "but both Ukraine and I are doing this for the last time." So, if the guarantors of the memorandum, the UK and America, fail to end the Russian colonization of Ukraine, Zelensky asserted Ukraine will have every right to believe that the Budapest Memorandum is not working and all the 1994 package decisions have been called into question, indicating they would pursue nuclear development. So, this dude's getting a little fed up, and if nothing comes of this whole deal and Russia stays, apparently Ukraine developing their own nuclear weapons program is back on the table, and that we're just back in the Cold War again, except it's moved a little further east. There's pretty grave concerns that after that, then China takes Taiwan, and I tend to agree with all of those assessments, and also not sure how that affects the rest of the world. And I'm not saying that to be snarky. I honestly don't know how that affects us. So anyhow, war with Russia, man. But one of the good things here is going back to nostalgia. The Cold War was excellent for spy movies, spy novels, sports movies. I mean, Miracle on Ice. Come on. And now if we got the Russians to be the enemy again, man, that really does a lot for morale here. And what is it about the Russians? Like you always have the best guys to hate. I mean, well, outside of Germany, you kind of take the cake on that on guys to hate. But I mean, Russia, they had Lenin, they had Stalin, they had Gorbachev, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And now you got Putin. I mean, you got really good villains. I mean, you had Dolph Lundgren in Rocky. You had really good villains. Still have good villains. Yeah, and then like Jack Carr's got his new like spy thriller novel coming out here in, is it March or May? Something like pretty soon. He's like the new Tom Clancy. Like there's going to be some good stuff that gets wrote about a new Cold War. I mean, I don't know how long it'll last because like eventually we're going to collapse like the Soviet Union. I don't know if it's going to look like what the Soviet Union turned into. Who knows? That's a different story. But man, the spycraft nowadays, it could be a really weird Cold War. Could be weird. I don't know. I had a couple other stories. I don't know if this is a cool one. This is just right up the road from me. But California authorities looking for a large furry suspect in a 7-month crime wave. He's got a record, including 33 cases of breaking and entering, 102 police responses, and 152 reports of conflict behavior, authorities said. Although the people of South Lake Tahoe, California have endured his 7-month spree, some in the community are now concerned about the fate of 500-pound bear Hank the Tank. California Department of Fish and Wildlife says the black bear is so used to being around people and human food that it might not fare well on its own ever again. This bear is extremely food habituated and has used its immense size and strength to break in and through front doors and garage doors, it said. Experts say that devastating California wildfires of recent year have pushed black bear populations into more urban areas as they search for food. Yeah, so this is up at South Lake Tahoe, and 500 pounds, pretty good sized black bear. Read an article the other day. He actually broke into a house, and he was just like rummaging around inside these people's house. It's a big fucking black bear, and my first thought is just shoot that thing dead. Be done with it. He has well outstayed his welcome. Let's put that back up on the screen. We got 33 breaking and entering, 102 police responses, and 152 reports in a 7-month period. I think he has shown a pattern of behavior at this point. You can go ahead and just be done with it. He's not leaving. He knows where the food is, and he knows that he can get in. It's just, sorry, Hank. It's been pretty funny. It's been real. It's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun, especially if that's your house that he broke into. And just go ahead and either put him down or tranquilize him and put him in a zoo. And then he can, do bear shit there in the zoo. Or you just put him down, 500-pound, black bear boar. That's it's going to be some meat. Donate it to a food bank. California, you got the whole homeless problem. Don't know what the homeless situation is at Lake Tahoe this time of year. Probably not a real thriving community of homeless up there. But I bet you there's a food bank somewhere that you could donate 500 pounds of bear meat to. Well, it's not going to be 500 pounds, but a considerable amount of bear meat that you could donate, or just let whoever finds them on their property dispose of them how they will. I don't know. It's a bear. Shoot the damn thing. But we can't do that anymore. Bears have feelings too, or something. I think that's all I've got. I was looking into this rumor going around about the COVID vaccine causing AIDS. Turns out there is like a grain of truth to certain arguments about. So this is from Reuters. Over the past few weeks, Reuters has debunked a series of misleading and false claims about COVID-19 vaccination efforts and HIV. Contrary to claims online, there is no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines increase risk of HIV infection. To back up their claims, social medias are pointing to a letter sent to medical journal The Lancet in 2020. And The Lancet is a pretty well-respected medical journal, I guess. Correspondence has been shared without context, however. Researchers expressed concerns about certain COVID-19 vaccines being developed with AD5 vector, which are not used in the United States, but so far there is no data to show such vaccines carrying it. So there was a letter wrote to The Lancet, and it got shared around. And in the letter, 4 researchers expressed concerns about COVID-19 vaccines that use recombinant adenovirus type 5, AD5 vectors. Based on past research on certain HIV vaccines that used AD5 that found an increased risk of HIV among vaccinated men, researchers said that COVID-19 vaccines using AD5 could possibly lead to an increased risk too. None of the COVID-19 vaccines authorized by the WHO or used in the U.S. are use an AD5 vector. Russia's Sputnik 5 and China's CanSino COVID vaccines, both of which use AD5, have been used in various countries, including Argentina, Chile, and Mexico. There's no current data showing an increased HIV risk with these vaccines, Medan Health Desk said. Susan Buchbinder, director of the Bridge HIV at San Francisco Health Department of Public Health, told Reuters in a statement, "There is a theoretical risk that for people who are exposed to HIV through sex or drug use, that AD5 COVID vaccines could increase susceptibility to HIV infection. This only applies to 85 vaccines and is theoretical only. There is no data that shows COVID vaccines increase HIV infection, but this has not been formally studied." So, long story short, I don't know what the fuck. I do know that they approved a AIDS vaccine here recently, so keep that in mind. And while all this, they're saying this is a giant conspiracy right now, they've said that about stuff related to the whole pandemic before. So I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I didn't take the vaccine, so I'm good there. The rest of y'all that did, if you did through choice or you had to, I don't know. There might be something to pay attention to. I don't know. Weird week. Aaron was gone again, being gay, doing gay things. But we don't judge around here. No judgies. And I got the Starlink part that I need on the way. The weather delayed shit, but I should, hopefully tomorrow, that part will be here, or as today as you're listening to it. And then my studio will be hooked up as well, and I'll have real fast internet, and so now you can see my ugly mug in real HD. Yeah, get ready for that. Other than that, we'll try to get back to doing some interviews. I've been holding off until I get all connected here in the studio. So, but that should be happening shortly. I've got some cool guests lined up, ready to go as soon as I get all set up here. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday with something new. Mackenzie had his episode today, and hopefully tomorrow as well. But she does a good job over there. And it's, you can listen to it right here on the podcast feed, but Cattle News Central every Monday through Friday. So check that out. If you're not subscribed on Patreon, please do. All money goes back into the show or towards a giveaway. But you get some bonus content and you get all the episodes ad free and a little bit early. So check that out. Patreon.com/burning daylight. And if you're watching, you can see my cool shirt, Pandemic Survivor. Anyway, you can find that at the website, burning-daylight.com. Other than that, have a good rest of the week. Stay warm and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Good guys and bad guys, cowboys and Indians, sinners and saints.